Hello and welcome to today's episode. I'm Veronica White and I'm thrilled to have you join us in this episode about therapy for children. Child therapy is becoming more widely accepted and recognized as an essential part of children's mental health care. With increasing awareness of childhood mental health issues, parents and educators are more proactive in seeking early interventions. The rise of social and academic pressures, exposure to digital influences, and the effects of global events have all contributed to the growing need for professional support. Today we will speak about play therapy, where we're diving into a world that speaks the language of children, the world of play. Whether you're a parent, caregiver, or just curious about how play can be more than just fun, this episode is for you. Let's start with the basics. What is play therapy? Play therapy is a specialized form of therapy designed to help children express their thoughts and emotions through play, rather than words. Young children don't always have the vocabulary to express complex emotions, but through play they can communicate what's going on inside. It's an evidence-based approach used by trained professionals to help children work through challenges in a way that feels safe and natural. What are the benefits of play therapy? It can help children to process difficult emotions like anxiety, sadness, or anger. It can build problem-solving skills, can develop healthy social interactions, and improve self-esteem and confidence. It also can strengthen their ability to cope with life's challenges and feel a sense of control over their experiences. Why do parents explore play therapy? They might turn to play therapy for many reasons, including behavioral concerns like aggression, withdrawal, or extreme shyness. It can be anxiety, depression, or trauma. Difficulty adjusting to the change like divorce, relocation, or the arrival of new siblings. Struggle with self-regulation or social interactions. Also grief or loss of loved one. Play is not just an activity, it's a powerful tool for healing. Through play, children rehearse real-life situations in a safe way. They learn emotional regulation and coping skills. They feel a sense of mastery and control over their experiences. They express their thoughts and feelings without pressure. Play therapy supports emotional regulation. When a child experiences big emotions, they might struggle to verbalize them. In play therapy, they might choose to smash clay, build towers, or engage in pretend play or battles. These actions give them an outlet for frustration, sadness, or fear. Over time, they learn healthier ways to cope with their emotions outside the playroom. After consistent play therapy, parents often noticed better communication of feelings, increased confidence, and independence. They might notice improved relationship with peers and family, reduced anxiety or behavioral outbursts. They notice greater ability to handle challenges and frustrations. Play therapy can help to build confidence. When a child successfully expresses and processes emotions through play, they start feeling more in control of their world. They develop problem-solving skills, a stronger sense of self, and resilience, the key ingredients for confidence. Play therapy is most effective for children between the ages of 3 to 12 because their primary way of learning and expressing emotions is through play. However, variations of play therapy, such as an expressive arts therapy, can also benefit older children and even teenagers. A typical play therapy session lasts 30 to 50 minutes and takes place in a carefully designed playroom with therapeutic toys, games, art supplies, and role-playing tools. The therapist observes how the child plays, engages with them, and helps them process emotions through storytelling, drawing, pretend play, or sensory activities. The child leads the session, choosing what and how they want to play, while the therapist gently guides them towards emotional healing. Kids absolutely love play therapy. Children naturally gravitate towards play, and because the sessions feel like playtime rather than therapy, they're often eager to return. Many parents report that their children look forward to their play therapy sessions. To help us explore the incredible world of play therapy, I'm thrilled to welcome a special guest to the show, Shelly Glikson. A play therapist and a mother of two, Shelly made a significant career change from design to play therapy in search of a more rewarding way to help others. Through her studies and personal experiences, Shelly discovered that play therapy provides children with a safe space to express their emotions and build essential social skills. The impact of COVID lockdowns on childhood development resonated deeply with her. Shelly believes in working closely with families, educating them on the challenges that may face as a unit, and showing them how to incorporate play into their daily lives for emotional growth and connection. Shelly, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
Veronica.
you. And so let's start from the questions.
Yes.
Why would parents seek play therapy for their children?
There's a massive range of reasons that you would see a play therapist. Similarly, you could look at it like the same reasons why a child would see a psychologist. So we can say a fear a child might have. So sleep time, the dark, starting school, moving house, any changes in the family system, someone moving in, someone moving out, to the more sort of extreme kind of, if there's been any like violence or abuse that they've been exposed to, and also neurodivergent children. So children on the autism spectrum do really well with play therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the whole range from just daily activities to the real deep trauma and also for children on the spectrum.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I really would like to find out, just I spoke with you a little bit before the show and lots of toys. And what would be the typical session for the child? How does it look like?
The way I see it is you want them to, even whatever in office or therapy space you've got them, you want them to feel like they're coming to a play therapy session. So it's all about fun, colour, inviting them in. They should want to feel, that they want to come and see you. So even often the reception spaces are like their own mini playroom to begin with, and then the playroom itself has a range of different toys that sort of deal with different areas of regulation and behaviour that the child can kind of work through.
So is it the therapist picks up the toys for the child, or how does that work?
So the beauty of the playroom is that the child is in charge.
Okay.
And it is a really unique experience because they don't often get that opportunity to just pick what they want, and they will sometimes kind of take a while to, process everything that's in the room. And, sometimes it can even be overwhelming, and as they continue to come to the sessions, they get more comfortable. But it's the child that's in charge, and the therapist is just there to support that child's needs. And if the child is playing out a scenario or a behaviour, then, sometimes it can be, a challenge for the child, and the therapist is really there to be there for that child and hold them in that place.
Shelly, picturing that, I imagine, so the child picks up their toys, but then how does play help them? Let's say if I have, as a parent, disciplinary issues with a child, and then I would like help, to with the discipline, and if they run around and choose whatever they like, how play therapy can even help?
It's the therapist would be observing, these sort of play, because the child would be kind of, they may pick up a toy, for example, through pretend play. Like you can be the mum screaming.
Okay, I can do that.
And we can have a little. See, there's no rules in play therapy, so it doesn't matter. We can have an animal as a child. It's whatever goes kind of thing, and that's the beauty of it. There's no wrong.
Okay.
And that's what's really important. There's no judgment on the child of their choices, which is really interesting because when you do kind of incorporate the parents, it's quite challenging for them.
Thanks, Shelly, and we'll be back shortly after the break. Welcome back to our conversation about play therapy with Shelly Glikson. As a parent, I'm imagining if the child is allowed to do everything they want in the room, and yes, they express their emotions, they, will validate their emotions, but how would that help them to create the boundaries outside the playroom?
I would explicitly say that these are things that we do in the playroom. So if there are certain things that are used, it is in a safe environment.
Okay.
So there's that, which is really important. So you're not letting them kind of do exactly the same things. Shelley let us do that, so we can do that at home. Whereas the child explores the different types of play in the room. So we have sensory play, we have pretend play. They are learning to regulate their bodies and in turn are learning habits of calming themselves down and having more of an understanding of their feelings and their emotions.
So they learn in the playroom or some scenarios, and then they can bring it outside of the playroom?
Definitely. And it may happen subconsciously, and it may sort of go up and down where it sort of increases the behavior, but then it comes back.
Okay,
it
gets worse before it gets better.
in a way, you could say, but it's kind of a good thing, because, for example, a child might be like hiding those feelings and emotions or masking. So when they're not, that means they're being themselves.
That's very important, to be themselves. Okay, and then you mentioned pretend play. Is that the fantasy play, or what is exactly pretend play?
So pretend play could be costume and imagination.
Oh.
So if you would like to
I
try
feel like
this
playing
little,
today, yes,
getting
would.
into character.
Okay, always want to be a superhero.
And so, it's giving them confidence, giving the child confidence, and that freedom of things that a superhero may represent, being powerful and strong, and you can use that.
The magic wand.
And actually you can use that for whatever you choose, and the child can choose what that is. Is it fire? Is it a magic wand? Is it, I don't know, some sort of lightsaber or whatever?
Oh, so they can use literally any object and then...
For anything, yes. So a stick can be a wand, for example. A box could be a ship or a car. Yeah.
And you said that the therapist observes the play, and what are you looking for? What do you see?
Sure. Firstly, I would look at if I'm invited to play, and how the child engages with me as well. So, depending on the certain child, you would see gradual progressions if they weren't sort of wanting to, invite me into the play. As they get more comfortable and more confident, they would be saying, okay, now you do this. And they're actually telling me what to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So, which is a lovely thing to see.
Are there any unusual toys in the playroom?
Look, we do use guns, like Nerf guns, but there are always boundaries around that. And I'm very clear with that. And I've never actually had everyone's always respected that. So they just know that that's for the playroom only, and that's not what goes on at home. And it's also, obviously, I check with the parents if they're okay with that. And look, guns.
So the parents still have some say?
Of course.
No.
I mean, that's number one. But, I do explain why it's used. It's not just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It is in a safe space. And I find that aggressive play is a stage and something that a lot of children need to go through. And they will move away from it and they'll move on from it. But, it's just something that children, have that that place to express.
So it's a safe place where they can really express those emotions, maybe that they are not allowed to express anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I think now it makes sense to me, how it might work once they express emotions, and then you can bring the, so to speak, desired behavior outside the playroom. Okay.
I get to experience all the fun and games.
Yeah, me too. I'm really enjoying this. All the toys. And you mentioned also sensory play.
Yes.
What is that, and what is it for?
Sure. So there's a range of sensory toys that we like to use and offer. So from drawing and painting, again, it depends on each child and what they feel comfortable. I've got some slime here, and for example,
And not many parents favour slime at home.
they hate it and they don't want to hear about it, and they also don't want to hear about glitter, because that's like
glitter.
their mortal enemy. But I can tell you that in the playroom, once the kids are like, you have slime and glitter, oh my God, like sold, like I'm here. So not everyone likes the touch of it.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's not bad. And then, and actually then children will often ask if they can make their own slime. So they really want to be a part of that process. And I feel like it's sort of like stage one to acting out the scenarios. Sensory is sort of like an early on stage. So they're getting like the feelings out kind of through touch and textures.
So I guess it's a little bit more like we regulate our body emotions first before we can logically address anything. Yeah, okay. Right. Well, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and look, I mean, it's no different to like wanting to listen to music, or I mean that's all sort of, kind of as an adult, we might kind of relax if we, watching our favorite show, or listening to calming music or whatever. So it's just another way, and I do love to get families to embrace it eventually.
So her family. So how would you recommend for a parent to prepare their child for therapy? Because again, as a parent, I imagine myself, what would I say to my daughter? That growing up, we're going to play with them once a week?
So I actually like to create sort of like a social story, or either film myself in the playroom to introduce myself so that I'm not a complete stranger. And that actually usually makes the kids really excited, and they don't stop asking their parents, like, when is it Saturday, or when is it this day? It's just such a fun environment. It's just really exciting for the kids, and there's lots of things you can punch and lots of things you can roll around in. And I've never had a child not want to stay, not want to come in. To be honest, I've always had them overstay.
Oh, nice. Sounds like, it will be the highlight of the week, to come to sessions like this.
Look, it's and they don't have to clean up, so
It could be better for them.
Win-win.
It is win-win. I'd like to perhaps, to share with our audience some kind of success stories. What would be the positive changes we could see after therapy?
I once had a child who was really disengaged with me, and I was just really kind of in the beginning, like he just was doing his own thing. He was sort of the reason why they needed help is because he was meant to go to prep, and they just said, he sort of attended, and they just sort of said he's not ready, like he doesn't have the social skills. And it was around the time of COVID, so he'd missed out on a lot of that development. It was really hard at first because I felt like I was being ignored, but eventually he was coming in hugging me, and he wasn't verbally talking too much, but that seemed to change. And then if I'd leave a toy out, he would notice it and sort of ask for that toy. So I could see he was bonding with the toys. He actually played our scenarios. We had done a camping scenario, and he had done that outside with other children. And I was told that by his teachers, and they were really surprised because he always played on his own. And in the end, he graduated with the kinder class. They didn't think he would be participating, and the mother
that's
was
wonderful story.
really happy that he sang. He knew all the words. He was happy to be there, and he was probably one of the best sort of
That's
he had the
story.
confidence, and didn't feel like an outsider.
So you mentioned that there was a teacher and parents. So in the play therapy, does play therapists communicate with other specialists in the...
Yes. It's really important to kind of know as much information as you can. You really kind of sometimes need to dig with the parents, like we don't need to know, like it's okay if they're behaving, in a negative way. It's better to know those things, because otherwise then I'm a bit confused, if someone doesn't mention something's changed in the family dynamic, then it can be really sort of puzzling as to why. And then I'll ask and I'll go, so, I've noticed this, or I will speak to a teacher and say, how do you find them in the class? And then we sort of, it's like putting the puzzle pieces together almost, together, yeah.
So, it's a very collaborative process together.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Well, sounds like the children absolutely love play therapy, and it benefits a lot, both for parents and for children.
But I always make sure that they know that like there is an end, it's not a forever thing.
What's the average amount of sessions recommended for a child?
So I think you're looking at, depending on what the sort of challenge is, if it's sort of, on the low to moderate, you're looking at, at least 15 to 20 sessions.
Weekly, as you said.
Weekly is really good. Once you have a break, it sort of throws things off a bit and you sort of go back a bit. So then you sort of need to keep going, and it's always good to have the same time and that sort of thing, so there's stability for the child.
I tried to take off my superhero's cape. It was wonderful to be in that one. My last question will be to you, Shelly, is, there is still stigma around mental health, and especially for children. How would you, comment on that or address that if there is?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's always going to be there, but I feel like it's come a long way, and it's just about schools having enough kind of confidence to sort of speak out to a parent if they see something that they don't feel is, like appropriate behaviour for that age or stage of the child. And, in saying that, the parent should also be open to want to help that child's mental health and well-being, because in the long run it's going to help their child. Whereas some people, teachers can be sometimes a bit scared that they're going to offend someone, so then they won't speak up. But in the long run, then the child's the one that sort of loses
so
out.
always think about child first. Well, thank you so much, Shelly. That was so insightful, this conversation, because it is therapy. People are aware of that, but there is still some stigma. But from your words, I believe play therapy is good for any child.
Yeah.
And I love that we could play a little bit here as well. Thank you so much for making me a superhero. I look forward to seeing you somewhere, in another time in our studio, to have more in-depth conversation. But other than that, thank you so much for sharing your expertise.
My pleasure. Thanks, Veronica.
To our viewers, we hope this conversation has given you a deeper understanding of play therapy and how it can support a child's emotional growth. If you found this helpful, share it with a parent or caregiver who might benefit. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, remember, sometimes the best way to help a child is simply let them play.